Hello, my name is Jennifer Harrison. I am the coordinator of the ARC of New Jersey's Sexual Violence Prevention Project. Thank you so much for coming here today. Internet safety is so important, especially for individuals with IDD who are particularly vulnerable to things like grooming and cyberbullying, falling prey to predators. So it's really fantastic that you decided to show up. I can always be gotten in touch with, and I will give you my contact information at the end of the presentation. First, a content warning very quickly, but we're aware that each of you brings your own experiences into the room. So if anything makes you uncomfortable, we will be mentioning sexual violence, not in any great detail, but we will be talking about it. And if you're uncomfortable at any point, you can stop this video, you can fast forward through it, or you could just stop and then come back to it at some other point, okay? But take care of yourselves, please. R&R. Rest and relaxation, not so lucky. No, what I'm talking about is our responsibility as people who work with and love people with IDD. The first R stands for repeat and reinforce. It is so important that everything we learn today, that we not only teach our students, our loved ones, but we reinforce it. We continue to bring it up, repeat, repeat, repeat. I always say repetition helps us remember things. And when we're teaching kids not to cross the street, we don't say it once and then just let it go and hope it's stuck, right? We over and over again repeat it. So the more you do that, the more these lessons will stick. And then role model. That's another way to ensure that your students really digest what you've said and remember. So you want to practice good internet safety. You want to repeat and reinforce internet safety. So as we go along, I'm sure I'll be dropping in little, don't forget to repeat this in there. Okay, what are we going to cover today? Well, first of all, we'll talk about the home sex ed curriculum that I created for the Sexual Violence Prevention Project. It's available on our website, which you will see in a moment, the ARC SVPP, Sexual Violence Prevention Project.org. It's free, it's downloadable. You can download one of the lessons or all 10. And I'll go into detail about that a little later. We're going to talk about what is sexual violence. We'll talk about why teach internet safety, vulnerability specific to the IDD community. And then we're going to talk about the sort of nuts and bolts of internet safety, keeping information personal when you're online, netiquette, how to behave, meeting people in person who you met online, very, very common, and a lot of questions surrounding that. Posting and sending photos, cyberbullying, so important to talk about, predators, keeping social media private, meaning in your settings, making sure that not anyone can just pop into your social media. We'll talk about safe spaces online. In general, how to make sure space is secure, but then also places that are designated specifically for people with IDD. And there are a million of them if you search them, but I came up with one or two. And then at the end, I'll talk very briefly about my project and CJAP, which is the Criminal Justice Advocacy Project, which is also part of the ARC of New Jersey and who works very closely with people who are, justice involved. Okay, the curriculum consists of 10 lessons. and it's increasing level of anatomy, sexuality, personal safety. So the first three lessons are relationships, public and private, and decision-making and communication. We do not talk about sexuality. We do not talk about specific body parts. We don't talk about kissing or holding hands, anything like that. It is absolutely devoid of all things sexual, but it does lay the groundwork for what you do need to know when you discuss sex ed. And also, it just reinforces, repeats and reinforces safety guidelines. It also loops back over and over again. We continue to, let's come back to boundaries. Let's come back to consent. Let's talk about public and private again. So it really drives it home. There are more than 100 worksheets. They're really fun. There are a lot of games, like the Consent is Not a game. That one you can play for hours. Things that you circle and draw a line to this, and there's consent bingo, things like that. So it's actually really fun. You can do it at home or in the classroom. Plus activities, role plays, and lots of discussion, so important. Again, the curriculum is available free for download. Just go on varcsvpp.org and you'll go to the home sex ed curriculum, and you can pick and choose what lessons or all that you want to download. And then this will just show there are a couple of our worksheets. The one on the left actually has to do with our lesson today, which is internet safety. Circle the information and the pictures that should be kept private, meaning do not post them. So you'll see, oh, this is a red flag. That's not a good idea. You can play through that. On the right is I believe it's from the relationships lesson, which is number 1. And that's something you can print out, fill out, and then put on the refrigerator, put on your wall, so that, again, to repeat, to reinforce. So it's always in their sights. Okay, sexual violence. What is it? It's a wide range of sexual acts and behaviors that are unwanted, coerced, committed without consent. That is the most important thing, or forced either by physical means or through threats. Now, we tend to think of the top 3: sexual assault, sexual abuse, which is repeated assault, and rape. But all these other things qualify as sexual violence as well, things that you wouldn't think about, like coercion, like manipulation or sexual harassment, unwanted sexual talk, things like that. Also, please do not forget, the legal age of consent in New Jersey is 16. Now, there are some nuanced laws, like no sexual act with someone aged 13 if you are more than 4 years older than 13. Things like that gets very confusing. The most important thing to remember is the legal age of consent is 16. So, that's something to repeat and reinforce to your students. Why are we teaching internet safety, right? Can't be important. Of course it can. Here are some statistics. 12% of people on the internet have experienced some form of harassment. 59%, considerably more than half, of US teens have been cyberbullied or threatened online. 1 in 7 children is contacted online by someone with sexual intentions. That one, we should all prick up our ears. 1 in 7 is approached by someone with sexual intentions. So that's a huge cause for concern. And if kids aren't made aware of it, or even adults who have IDD, they're not going to know to look out for this. Children are likely to have seen pornographic content online by the age of 15. And 40% of teens, this is important, would behave differently if their parents tracked their online activity. What does that tell us? It means they're perhaps not being safe and they're aware they're not being safe. So what we need to do is not terrify anyone, right? When we teach someone how to cross the street or that they should, we don't say what could happen if they don't. You'll get hit by a this and this will happen to your body and that's what it'll feel like. No, that's just cause for terror, right? But we do say, you need to stay safe. Here is how. That's what we're doing with internet safety. About 97% of individuals with IDD have access to the internet at home. It's almost everyone. 41% have a computer in their own bedroom. So if we don't teach people how to be safe around this technology, then then there are at much greater risk because it's everywhere. It's available everywhere and in places where people aren't monitored. Finally, people with IDD are equally likely to talk with people whom they meet online, 41% versus 40%. So that's really exactly the same. But they're more likely to display sexualized behavior online. That's 20% are the people with IDD, as opposed to 13% of neurotypical people are likely to display sexualized behavior. So we really want to drive home what is safe and what is not. So why are people with IDD more vulnerable to online, sexual violence? Well, we can't blame the disability. Here's what we can credit it with. People with IDD often have difficulty or more difficulty reading social cues. They have difficulty regulating their behavior or impulse control. They have more difficulty determining the accuracy of information. A lot of neurotypical people can't tell what's real, what's fake news. So we have to teach people the right sources for news. And they have more difficulty judging if someone is trustworthy. We can't be there sitting next to them all the time. As we learned, 40% have a computer in their room where they ostensibly have privacy. So what we want to do is teach people what to look out for instead of, oh, I'm looking over your shoulder, this guy's not trustworthy. Let's just give, a good rundown of what to look for. It's that, plus social isolation. That includes limited access to outside communications and interactions, institutionalization. There are separate schools, classes, programs, societal discomfort and discrimination, stigma. Lack of physical accessibility to public services and spaces. And here's a really big one, limited access to love, intimacy, and sexuality. So not only do people with IDD have more trouble regulating their impulses and judging if something or someone is safe, but they also have limited access to releasing, their sexual impulses safely. So if we don't teach people what to do with their feelings, then that opens us up not only to predators and to victimization, but it also opens up people to offending, right? If people have these impulses and they don't know what it means and they don't know what to do with it, they are more likely to victimize someone else because of it. We have to teach people what's acceptable, what is not, what is appropriate, what is not, what consent is, what boundaries are, what to do in public, what to do in private. So there's that. Plus, there is the added issue of Lack of sexuality and internet safety education, which I just mentioned. We have to teach people what is okay and what is not. And when we talk about what is okay, that includes how to manage their sexuality and their sexual impulses in a safe way. Okay. Ignoring it will not make it go away. Teaching it will not make it happen more. So what you're doing is you're telling people how to be safe when you talk about sex with them. 46% of people with IDD with low support needs and 84 of those with high support needs don't receive any sex education. In New Jersey, you are allowed to opt your student out of sex ed. People who have children with IDD are even more likely to opt out their students and to not supplement it with information from home, information that can keep them safe, away from things like pregnancy, offending, being victimized, STIs, things like that. Which is why I created the home sex ed curriculum. You can pick and choose what you teach. Anything that goes against your religious or your moral beliefs, you just sidestep, don't include it, fair enough. But the information should be there and made available. So the combination of all of these things equals a higher risk for bullying, harassment, sexual exploitation. So if we don't teach people and they are already, there's a predilection for vulnerability, that raises, red flags. It sounds off the alarm. So we have to get people information, tell them what to do with it, and teach them how to be safe. An international online assessment by the We Protect Global Alliance found that 57% of all respondents who identified as disabled had experienced at least one type of online sexual abuse. So that's more than half. It's that should tell you really no one's safe, but the more information you have, the safer you can be. Okay, why is there increased risk of offending? It is not if you have a disability, you are more likely to offend. It is that people with IDD, particularly those on the autism spectrum, may turn to the internet to understand their own sexuality. Why? Because people aren't talking about it at home. And cognitive ability has nothing to do with hormonal status. Basically, puberty is going to come. Your sexuality is going to be your sexuality. It doesn't matter if you have IDD or not. So it's important to teach people what to do with this. We tend to think of people with IDD as either asexual, like little kids. Not the case. It has been proven it is not the case. Or hypersexual, also not the case. There is that spectrum, just like with neurotypical people, that so there are people of all kinds, and we want to educate everybody. Many have been exposed to pornography at a young age, 10 and up, which often portrays young children in a highly sexual way. Well, that lays the groundwork for becoming a predator, maybe even unwittingly. I always think of, often, not always, people with IDD who commit sexual offenses are also victims, just like the people they victimize, because a lot of these individuals were never taught what's appropriate, what's not, what is consent, what are boundaries, what is public and private. Then they offend and they wind up either on a registry for life or incarcerated. Many people develop a preference for images of minors, people with IDD who are online. Minors may seem less threatening. Also, pornography sites are designed to prompt users to click on sites that are increasingly more violent, disturbing, or that involve children. So the more pornography you view, the more they ramp it up. You thought that was good, check out this. You like that, check out this. And it's, increasingly problematic, especially when you get to topics or matter that involves children. People with an intellectual disability account for only about 1% of the general population. Now, I've read 1 to 3. I'll even give it 1 to 5 because people are often misdiagnosed or undiagnosed. However, they represent 1 in 5 federal and state prisoners and anywhere from 2 to 40% of sexual offenders. Let me rephrase that. Let's say on the high end, really high end, let's say 10% of the US has an intellectual disability. 40% of the sexual offenders who are incarcerated have an intellectual disability. They are grossly overrepresented. Why? Because they are less educated about this topic, and they often don't know that what they're doing is against the law. For those who were abused as children, and as we know, people with IDD are much more vulnerable to abuse, their victimization may develop into a learned behavior. So something they were taught at the hands of relatives and caregivers, which they therefore came to view as normal. So again, it's that cycle of abuse, right? If we don't talk about it, we can't understand it. Okay, this is one of my favorite things on earth. It's called the dignity of risk. You may have heard about it, you may not have. What is it? Well, it's a noun. It means being able to make a choice, even if it could have negative consequences for you. When it comes to people who are neurodivergent, they are often not allowed to make their own decisions, really about much, down to here's what you're wearing today, here's the food that's in front of you, here are the people you're socializing with, right? Here's the movie you're going to watch. What we want to do is honor the dignity of risk, meaning allow them that dignity to take chances that are still safe. We don't want to put people in harm's way. We want to educate, we want to guide, and then we want to say, look, your world is opened up a little bit and you can express your wants and needs. How do we do that? I'm going to tell you. Treating people fairly. Just think about fairness, giving people their voice that you have no right to withhold from them. Being an advocate for exercising their rights to the fullest extent possible. We know that people with IDD have the same rights as neurotypical people. Everyone in the world has the same rights. So we really want to stand up for those rights and allow people to exercise them. Supporting the person's preferences and values rather than one's own. Well, I think as parents, as teachers, as caregivers, we're all sometimes guilty of that. I know what's best for you. I know what I would want to do. And what we need to understand is it's not about us. So while it is about us to keep them safe, we need to recognize that people have their own desires. We want to provide supports for health and safety by using least restrictive methods. What does that mean? It means help people do things in the safest and healthiest way. You want to be realistic with expectations. If someone says, listen, I've decided and I want to fly a plane, so let's go. I have the right to exercise my dignity of risk. Let's use our good judgment and say, let's hold up a little bit and take this step by step to whatever end we can. We want to include families and friends in the decision-making process whenever possible, if the stakes are high enough. Clearly, what you're going to have for dinner is not, but they're taking a road trip with a friend of theirs who can drive, you know, that's something that you probably want to get another voice in on. In the home curriculum, I write over and over and over again, talk to a trusted adult. Yes, we're teaching people how to make good decisions. Think about your values, think about your boundaries, think about the consequences, all of these things that shape good decision making. And then after you've done that, go talk to someone you trust and bounce it off them. We should all do that. This is not just for people with IDD. The world could use a little more good judgment on our side. We want to focus on strengths and goals and working within a positive framework, not what you can't do. Let's talk about what you can do. We want to support values, rights, beliefs, and positive relationships. That only adds to people's world. It only helps grow your soul when you do these things. And we also want to encourage choice wherever relevant and within an environment of respect. So keep in mind, dignity of risk. We want to keep you safe and healthy, but we also want you to feel proud. Now, why should we care about all these things for dignity of risk? Well, there's a payoff. It fosters independence, right? The more someone can do alone, the more they'll do it alone. And that feels good for them, and it feels good for the caretaker, right? The more you can take off your plate, there's so much. It's a win-win. It improves quality of life, I guess, by definition. Here's a big one. It builds self-esteem, confidence, and empowerment, right? We learn this when we're raising kids. It's so easy to keep cutting our kids' food, but boy, it's something else to say, here's a safe knife that's not too sharp. Let's teach you how to use it. And we have to know everyone has the right to self-determination, neurotypical, neurodivergent, everybody, you know, on that spectrum. Everyone has that right. So we really want to nurture that. Okay, now we're getting into the ins and outs of actual internet safety. You'll see I called this Start a Cult of Personality, but you'll see personal is in all caps. Why? Because we want to talk about personal information. And this is how we want to behave when we have personal information. We want to teach people what must be kept personal and private. Well, what are these things? You want to talk to your students, never, ever, ever online, post or talk about your home address. They, you know, not just your house number and your street name. Don't say the name of your town. Don't even say the name of your city. It's unnecessary. You don't want to talk to people about where to find you, where you're going, you know, hey, I checked in. I'm at, you know, Texas Roadhouse right now on Route 22. Not a good idea. Then people can find you, right? If you want to tell someone you trust, text them. That's fine. Don't mention your team name, your gym name, your school name. All of that is just too specific. Don't tell your phone number. Don't write it down. Here's a big one, personal and money information. No, 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 no. Don't even text it. That includes your bank account number. These things get hacked all the time. Don't write it down. Credit card numbers, not for anything. Unless it's a secure site, in which case, please tell your students, have a trusted adult sitting next to you, doing it with you. Can you purchase things online? Absolutely. Do you need to have another voice in the room? Absolutely. PIN numbers, huge. Not, oh, I don't have time to check my email. Could you go into my email and here's my PIN number? No, don't give it out. Passwords, no, no, no. And also your social security number. Nobody should be privy to that except a caretaker, guardian, and yourself. And travel plans. If you're planning to go away for 15 days, maybe don't tell people. Why? Because then they're going to know your house is probably empty. So just to be safe, this is all personal information. Don't list it. What can you do instead? I'm going to tell you. So advise them how to keep things personal and private. Instead of writing your home address, you can say, I live near Trenton, or I'm about an hour from the beach. I'm in a suburb in central New Jersey. All of these things are fine. No one's going to find you that way, right? You need specifics, but living near a place is not specific. Instead of telling them where you are, instead of checking in Texas Roadhouse, you could say, oh, I'm out to dinner. Or I go to my local high school. It's the public high school. Or I go to a private high school nearby. Or make a joke of it. If someone says, tell me your address, you can say, that's classified. And brush over it, because this is not information that anyone who is not close to you needs. Sorry, I have to postpone this reboot. Phone number. Hey, give me your number, I'll text you. Until you really know them, you could say, let's chat online. Meet me in this chat room. My phone's glitchy. That's a good one. I know my kids used to, when they didn't want to talk to someone on the phone, they would always say, it's glitching. Personal or money information. If anyone asks you, just give me your credit card number, or can you just tell me your password? You don't need to be funny. You don't need to be vague. What you say is, that's private. And that's all you have to say. It is not for anyone to know. And that's the end of it. That's the end of the discussion. Finally, travel plans, say nothing. Nobody has to know you're away. Why? Because chances are you're going to have internet access wherever you are. And for all everyone knows, you're in your room. When you come back, post all the beach pictures you wanted. Hey, just got back from Aruba. Look what I did. But while you were away and before, leave it out. Too much information. Okay, netiquette. What is that? Well, it rhymes with etiquette. So that's a little clue. Basically, how you should behave online. How to be a good citizen online. So this is how you do it. It's a very easy acronym, and that's THINK, okay? So before you post, you want to think. That means ask yourself, is what I'm about to post true? We don't want to post false information. That's not being a good citizen online. So is it true? Is it helpful? Do people really need to know, is it going to benefit people to read this? Is it inspiring? Is it going to make people feel good or excited? If it's a huge bummer, or if it's doom and gloom, I don't know, maybe don't post it. People don't really like reading that. And if they're not given a warning, right, it could trigger something. Is it necessary? Do you really have to post this? Very few things are necessary to post online, I have found. And here's the big one, kind. Is it kind? Is what you're posting, going to uplift people, or is it going to make someone feel bad? If you can say yes to all of these things, post away. That's great. Say what you want to say. But if you think before you post, you will, chances are, be a really good online citizen. Okay, how else are you a good online citizen? Well, by not harassing people, basically. Nobody wants to harass anyone else. But sometimes we really, really, really want to get in touch with someone, okay? So how do we really let people know that we want to hear from them, that we're interested in their lives without becoming problematic? Well, it's the 3 by 3 by 3 rule. What is that? It means you can contact someone 3 times the first day. You can call them once, text once, email once, you can text twice, try to FaceTime them once, you can email 3 times. Whatever method you choose, it's only 3 times that day without a response. Now, if they respond to you, you can have a back and forth, for 24 hours if you want. You can send 10,000, messages to each other. This all means without being responded to. So you can get in touch with them 3 times the first day. No answer? Try again 3 times, the same way, different ways, it doesn't matter. The second day, 3 times the third day. If you have sent, say, 3 texts Monday, 3 texts Tuesday, 3 texts Friday, if they're still not responding to you, it's time to let it go. They clearly don't want to respond. If they come back to you a week, 2 weeks later and say, I'm so sorry, I let this slip through the cracks, game on, that is fine. Now you're having a dialogue. But if you're being ghosted, if you're not being responded to, 3 times a day for 3 days, that equals 9 times. After that, without a response, let it go, or else you're starting to harass someone. So, is it more polite for them to say, you know what, I really don't want to interact? Yes. Do people do that? Rarely. So this is how we prevent ourselves from becoming harassers. Okay, meeting face to face. People meet online all the time in every which way possible, even if you're a friend of a friend of a friend who just followed each other on Instagram. What happens when you start talking to someone and they say, let's get together? Can we do that? Absolutely. The internet is a great way to meet people on gaming sites, in chat rooms. Sometimes people are on dating sites, or you're in a group chat and you don't know everyone. It's fantastic. But is it safe? Not necessarily. So let's talk about how to meet face to face if you've met someone online. Meet at a public place. That's the most important thing. They should never pick you up. I'll swing by, we'll go for coffee. No. You don't never want to be alone in a car with someone who you don't know. And you don't want them to know where you live. So no, do not come to my house and pick me up in your car that I will get into and be alone with you in. I'll meet you there. And it should be a public place where a lot of people are around. Don't go to a deserted parking lot. Don't meet in an alley. Don't meet at someone's home. If it's a weekend, don't say, yeah, let's go to your office and sit in the lunchroom. You want to make sure that there are people around. There's safety in numbers. Here's a great one. Bring someone along. So they can either sit with you. You can say, I'm bringing a friend, they're going to sit with us, or I'll bring a friend, you bring a friend, we'll all hang out. And that'll reduce the likelihood of awkward silences, because I know I personally can't handle that at all. Or have someone come and sit at another table. The person you're meeting doesn't even have to know that they're with you, right? But they can keep an eye out. Here's one of the reasons why you want them to keep an eye out. First of all, you don't, if they are a little more assertive than other people and they try to get you to go in their car, to go in a place where, in an alley, there's someone who's looking out for you. But also, if you turn around or you get up to order something or you go to the restroom, chances are you're leaving a beverage on the table, which if you're with someone you trust, no problem. But if it's someone you really don't know yet, you want someone in that room who's keeping an eye on your beverage, because things happen. So, if you're leaving the table, you can walk past your table and have a sign like, pulling on your ear, a la Carol Burnett, and that means keep an eye on my drink. And the person you bring can be a trusted adult, caregiver, uncle, whatever, or just someone responsible. It can be a friend, but a friend who sort of has good judgment, right? Yeah. And remember, even if you're meeting in public, even if you trust them enough and you like them enough to meet in public, personal information stays personal. That doesn't mean you can now give them your passwords, your PIN numbers, your credit card number, you know, your mother's maiden name, anything like that. It stays personal until they become really well known and trusted to you. Let's talk about posting photos, particularly. This is big on social media. It is a very big problem. And I have my way of addressing this is think about grandpa. So what does that mean? It means before you post something, ask yourself, would I want my grandfather to see this picture? If you can say, maybe not, don't post it. Why? Because it's probably not showing you in the best light. And even though when you're 15, 16, 17, you think it makes you look cool, and maybe it does, the fact is when you're applying to colleges, when you apply for a job, if you get into a serious relationship, when you have children, there are pictures you are not going to be so proud of. It's not going to feel so cool when people are actually judging you and determining whether or not you can go to their university or work at their company when it's out there. So what are these pictures? Well, let's play a little game and see. Here are 3 pictures. Let's see. Friends taking a smiling selfie. This person just won a medal. That person's, fielding a ball. Is that what it's called? Ground ball? I don't know. He's playing a sport. Do you think one of their grandfathers would be okay seeing these pictures? Yes, obviously. Everyone looks great. They're having a great time, fun, good stuff. What about these next pictures? Well, the person on the top looks a little maybe inebriated, a little bit maybe drunk. Person on the right is vaping. If you're over 18, that's legal. And the person on the bottom is I don't know, being a little rude. So are these pictures horrible? Are they going to keep you out of college? I don't know, to be honest. Will it get you fired from your job? No, probably not. But will it keep you from getting a job? It might. So I think this grandfather would say, I don't care for these so much, right? The final set. Okay, we've got a provocative picture. We've got a really rude picture, I guess obscene. And the guy at the bottom is not being shown in the best light. Do we want these online? Well, it's a good question. If you have a private story, if your settings are private, so no one can see your information unless you say they can see it, well, one would think that makes it safe, right? It makes it okay to post. However, people can screenshot, as you know. You can screenshot on your laptop, or you can actually pick up your phone, take a picture of something. Then suddenly it's not so safe. It's not so private because that person can send it out. They can upload it onto a website. They can send it to 500 of their closest friends. So these pictures that you think are secure are not. And pictures like these that really don't show you in a very good light, they could actually affect the way your life goes. Yeah, this grandfather, not happy. Of course, I'm not happy with this hat, but that's just a matter of taste. How do I think it's best to go about this? Don't post them. If you want a really good trusted friend to see you looking a certain way, maybe send the picture to them, but you have to make sure, A, they're really trusted and they don't send it out, and B, you want to make sure they're not going to get hacked. And it happens a lot. So any pictures you take, any videos you take, you're at risk. All right, cyberbullying, very big topic. It's huge, it's everywhere. And in New Jersey, it's a crime. So it is prosecutable. People can get in very, very big trouble. Now, what makes cyberbullying a crime? Well, cyberbullying is about intent. Okay, so the same action can be cyberbullying or not cyberbullying, depending on the intent. I'll go through all of the bullet points and we'll talk about it. First of all, when is it cyber harassment? Well, if someone threatens to inflict injury or physical harm to any person or the property of any person, that is cyber harassment. If someone knowingly sends, posts, comments, requests, suggests, or proposes any lewd, indecent, or obscene, read sexual, material to or about a person, that is cyber harassment. If anyone threatens to commit any crime against the person or the person's property, that is cyber harassment. Now, it's a crime of the 4th degree, which is not the highest crime. But if the person is 21 years or older, so they're a grown adult in the eyes of the law at the time of the offense, and they pretend to be a child, so they impersonate a minor for the purpose of cyber harassing a minor, now it's a crime of the 3rd degree. So it's worse when it's adult to child harassment. We want to think lest we become a bully. So if you're only posting comments that are true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind, chances are no one's going to accuse you of being a cyber bully. Now, there is a loophole to this. Not so much a loophole, but there's a little danger to this, and I'll tell you how. Sometimes we don't know that what we're posting is offensive or threatening. Let's say I'm posting a great picture of my grandmother, right? It's beautiful. But I don't notice that in the background, my friend is in a compromised position. I don't know. There's partial nudity. I don't know why this would happen, but it's just an example. If I post that and that person gets in touch with me and says, you posted this picture of me, that's cyber harassment. Well, the intent wasn't there. I didn't do it in order to threaten or humiliate you. So what I'm going to do is, and we're going to talk about this in a second, I'm going to apologize immediately, and I'm going to take it down immediately. That's how you can prevent being accused of cyberbullying. You get rid of it, okay? But let's say you've been cyberbullied. If you tell someone you've cyberbullied me, if they didn't have bad intent, they're going to do what you did before. They're going to apologize. They're going to take it down immediately. So maybe you haven't been cyberbullied and maybe you can let it go. Hopefully it was taken down quickly enough. But mistakes happen. We have to understand that. However, if they do not take it down, you want to make sure to take screenshots of the post, okay? So you either screenshot on like your laptop or your computer, or you're going to take your smartphone and take a picture of it. You always want to document any crime, any offense, just in case you need proof later. So sometimes people will say, they saw it, they're mad. Now I'm going to take it down after I did all these horrible things to them with bad intent, right? And then if the police or someone contacts them, they say, I never posted anything. Look on my site. It's not there. That's when you want to be able to say, I have screenshots, I have pictures. So taking photos and keeping a list of when and what they've done can be used as proof. You always want to tell a trusted adult. There's that trusted adult again. We always need to identify who that is. Teacher, coach, caregiver, family member, doesn't matter. Someone you really believe in. Tell them if you think you've been cyberbullied. Why? Well, you know, two brains are better than one, right? Four eyes are better than two. So it always helps to get another perspective and maybe someone else's power along with your own. If somebody posts something mean, embarrassing, or threatening on your social media, block them immediately. You go on, you change your settings either to private, or you go on and you know, find the name of that person and you say block that person. They should not be privy to your social media anymore. You want to report any cyberbullying to the site or platform. If it's in a chat room and somebody's harassing you, take your screenshots and then report them because they can be kicked off the site. In the case of threats to our health and safety, do not dismiss them. Do not assume it's a joke. Unless it's someone you really trust and you say, what did you mean by that? And they're like, oh my God, I was just kidding. If someone is threatening to do something to you, report it to the police. If it's dangerous, if it's criminal, get the police involved. Finally, there are also laws against harassment, intimidation, or bullying that is reasonably perceived as being motivated either by any actual or perceived characteristic, such as a disability. What does this mean? It means if you're being cyberbullied because of a disability, now it's a hate crime. And that's a special kind of law, and it's a stronger law, okay? So if the mean or embarrassing posts are about our disability, our race, or our sexual orientation, this is protected by Hate Crimes Act. And we should report them to our school district. If you're a student, report it to your boss if you work with them, or report it to the US Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division. Now, my captions are covering this, the website, but it is, I believe, https://civilrights.justice.gov/#3. If I am wrong, because I'm trying to see through the captions at it, just Google US Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, and you will get the link there. So this was everything you've ever wanted to know about cyberbullying and more. And here's this. If you want to take a picture of this list right now, pick up your smartphone, take a picture of this screen, and then you can always have it on your phone or print it out or something, but just steps for your students or your loved one who has IDD, whoever, so they know what to do if they think they've been cyberbullied. I'll give you one more second to do that, although you could always hit pause. Okay. Cyber predators and grooming. This is a very big deal. Sexual trafficking, human trafficking, and grooming in general are rampant, especially with the IDD community. Why? Well, for the issues we discussed earlier, which is they're just simply more susceptible to being victimized because of maybe uncultivated judgment skills or not understanding what is a crime and what's not. So that little granny who you're talking to gave you her pie recipe could easily be this guy, and we don't want to talk to this guy, okay? So let's talk about this. When you talk to your students about cyber predators, okay, you want to remind them over and over and over again that people on the internet may not be who they say they are. Even if they have a picture that looks just like Justin Bieber, it doesn't make them Justin Bieber. So the more you tell people not to trust people on the internet, the better. So I made up a game and you can play it, and it's one where the students email each other and it's sometimes true, sometimes catfish. So here's the catfish game. I'm going to encourage you to take out your smartphone again, take a picture of this, because it's, first of all, a really fun game, but second of all, it really helps people cultivate their judgment skills, or at least recognize how you can't trust anybody online. So, in summary, the catfish game is emailers will describe themselves and try to get the emailees, the people who are getting the emails, to believe that they are who they say they are. So you're going to split your class in half, the left side, the right side. Those on the left are going to be emailing. The people on the right are going to be the emailees. They're going to receive the emails. I made up that word anyway, so you know who to credit when it goes viral. Here's how you play. Go to the left half of the class. One by one, you're going to whisper to each student on the left side who on the right side they are to email. So each person's going to get their own unique person to email. And you're going to tell them, write as yourself. So you're going to be describing yourself to them, or catfish. So describe anyone else on the left side of the room and pretend to be them. Okay, try to convince them that you are the kid in front of you. So the emailers will describe either themselves or the person they are catfishing the other side with. They're going to say what they're wearing. Oh, I'm the kid in the blue hoodie. I am of Indian descent. I have a ponytail right now. What they enjoy. Remember, I'm in the marching band. I waved to you the other day when you were in gym and I was at practice. I hang out with Bill and Sue, right? You want to get as specific as possible and try to use the voice of that person, right? So if the person always says, that's rad, you want to say, oh, I have a really rad blue sweatshirt on right now. Because you really want to convince the person you're emailing that you are who you say you are. If you're describing yourself, same thing goes. I'm Jen, I have a ponytail, wearing a black sweater. I just had really mediocre corn fritters that I made for lunch. And I want people to believe that I am who I say I am. Then, after all of these emails are sent, the people on the right, one by one, will say if they believed the email they got or if they didn't. Okay, so you're going to see who can get catfished and who will not. Maybe everyone was instructed to be that one kid in the blue hoodie, right? Maybe everyone's catfishing. How are the people on the right side going to know who was really contacted by that kid? It really drives home how easy it is to be fooled online. Okay, so there's the catfish game. Now, when it comes to cyber predators, you want to tell your students, do not take or send photos or videos that you wouldn't want your grandfather to see. Because, and please say this again and again, the internet is forever. If you send photos, you send videos, they can be distributed, they can be disseminated, they can be reproduced. And even if you send it to the best girlfriend in the world, doesn't mean that they're not going to send it to their one friend or their 10 friends or upload it to another site. I said don't take or send the photos or videos because if you don't take them, it's even harder to send them around. Okay, so you're better off not taking them. Again, never meet someone in person who you met online unless it's in public and you're taking someone along with you, okay? Both of those things have to be true because a cyber predator can be really convincing. They can come across as the sweetest people in the world. And you don't want to find out when you're alone with them that they are not. You still want to keep your personal information personal, always. That includes secrets. If you don't want anyone to know, but there's this really big thing you've been keeping to yourself, don't tell the person that you met online. Don't do it. even if they tell you their secrets, because we don't know that they're their real secrets. We don't know if they're being genuine or not. They might just be trying to find out your information. If the person asks you to keep a secret of theirs or about your relationship, especially if they say, don't tell your parents that we're talking, don't tell your caregiver that we're talking, don't tell anyone, they wouldn't understand. If anyone says this to you, meaning your students, that is alarm bells. Go tell someone. Go tell a trusted adult. Go tell an authority figure, the principal, your caregiver, whoever it is. It's a sure sign you need to tell someone when they say, don't tell anyone. Does this mean if your best friend tells you a secret that isn't going to get them hurt? It's not like they're in danger, but they, have a secret crush or they cheated on their math test. Maybe keep that secret. That's when dignity of risk, right? Up to you, use your good judgment. Please tell your students that cyber predators are excellent manipulators. They cultivate their skills very, very well. They can be very complimentary. You're so pretty. You're so smart. You're my best friend. You're my boyfriend. They're great listeners, or pretend to be. They love to give gifts and do favors. Why? Because then you owe them, or you feel like you owe them. Don't fall for it. There is always a catch. So if someone's being really over the top, I want to talk to you all the time. I want you to tell me where you are when you're not texting me. I want you to tell me who you're with, or I want you to give me your password because if you loved me, you would. Red flag, don't do it. Please remind your students that if the person is really their friend, that person will accept a no. Tell me your PIN number. Nope, that's private. Okay. A real friend will say, ooh, okay, I respect that. Sorry, I understand. And they'll move on. They'll understand a refusal to disclose information. Come on, just tell me. What's your social security number? Are you going away? Is anyone going to be in your house? You can either tell them none of your business, or you can tell them, no, we're good. Don't fall for it. And finally, if this person really cares about you, they're going to understand when you say no to meeting them privately, sorry, not going to do it, or to sending them money. You can say, I don't have it. I don't have any, if that makes it easier. If they do ask for money, let's say you really want to give it to them. They want you to purchase something and you really want to buy it, or they need help. They're in really, really big trouble and they need that money. And you really want to give it to them. Please tell your students, stop. Talk to a trusted adult first. We're not saying you can't do it. We're saying first consult someone you trust, okay? Because they might say, let me check out the website first. Is this a real company you'll be purchasing from? Or, wow, if you want to send this person money, you will not give them your credit card. If you trust them, we will find a way to make sure that they're safe and I'll send them a check in the mail, or we'll Venmo them or something like that. But please don't do it on your own. You get a trusted adult. 2 words to repeat and reinforce all the time. You're going to pay attention to privacy settings. Why? Because in 2020, there was a 125% increase in Facebook recruitment for human trafficking. There was a 95% Instagram recruitment increase over the previous year. Okay, so people are being recruited for human trafficking in droves on social media. You must keep your accounts private, only to the people you approve. CSAM, child sexual abuse material. 1 in 7 minors is asked for nudes by a stranger online daily or weekly. Let's repeat that. 1 out of 7 minors is asked for nudes by a stranger online daily or weekly. Too much. It is too hard to keep saying no sometimes. Sometimes there'll be a judgment lapse. Don't risk it. Keep your stuff private. 40%, this is horrifying. 40% of 13 to 17-year-olds reported that it was normal for kids their age to share nudes with one another, as young as 13. 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 10 boys aged 13 to 17 have shared their own nudes. It's best not to do so, with people you don't know. You really don't want to do it with people you do know either, but that's something to repeat and reinforce. And here's something interesting. Only 6% of 9 to 17-year-olds turn to a trusted adult, parent, or caregiver after being sent a nude by someone they thought was an adult. So there are 9-year-olds only receiving nudes, 9 to 17 children who are being sent nudes, and only 6% are showing them to a trusted adult saying, I don't like this, this isn't good. We want to make that 100%. You know how? We continually tell our students, our children, I'm not going to like everything you say, I'm not going to like everything you do, but you are always safe to come to me and tell me anything. I will never punish you for that. This is the way we make sure that people can be open and honest with us and stay safe. Personal and financial threats. 40% of minors have reported that they felt uncomfortable online because they were asked for personal information. So we want to reinforce, here's how to keep your personal information personal. And one thing jumps out at me, and I'm just going to take a quick sip of tea. You must be so tired of my voice by now. The important word in this is felt. They have felt uncomfortable. That's your gut talking. That's your instincts. That's your judgment talking. People with IDD are very often taught not to listen or even notice their instincts. They're just taught to go along with things. We call that learned acquiescence, or the culture of compliance. Just do what you're told. Particularly in cases online, we want to teach people, no, your body tells you when something's wrong. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel pressured. You might get a stomach ache. You might feel shaky. You might feel like you want to turn off your computer. Trust that feeling, okay? When you get that feeling, it's your body saying something's wrong and we need to look out for ourselves. So let's get people more in tune with their gut and help them make really good choices. All these words you're not going to hear from me. Why? I'm putting that little picture up. Please take out your camera right now or your phone. Take a picture of this. It's telling you how to make Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat private. So how to make things private in the settings. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second, or you can pause, take a picture, and then you can go in and you can make everything private. You can even do this with your students. Okay, how to find safe spaces online when for individuals with IDD. So how do we know if a site is safe or not? I mean, how are they supposed to know? There are a couple of really good guidelines. Check for the S. The URL, that when you say www. blah, 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 before that comes an HTTPS. : //. You want that S after the HTTP. That stands for secure. Okay, if it's just HTTP, it may not be secure and you may not want to go on that website. You definitely don't want to put your credit card information in there. If there isn't an HTTPS or even an HTTP, and you're like, now what do I do? Look at this little green, looks like a suitcase, but it's actually a padlock icon on the far left in that address line. That also means secure. So you can trust a site that has that little padlock. Both the S and the padlock icon are there to let you know it's secure and no one else can access your information. So look for the S and or the padlock. Check for spelling. A fake URL address is sometimes a misspelled version of a real URL address. So a lot of times, someone who's setting up an unsafe site, a fraudulent site, will, let's say, set up Amazon with 2 N's.com, let's say. They're hoping you're going to misspell it. They think about the most common misspellings and they choose that. So when you click on it thinking, I'm going to Amazon, you're more likely to, wind up someplace unsafe because you didn't even notice. Stop and notice the spelling. So hellothere.com, they might be misspell it hello there with the wrong there, THEIR.com, or maybe leave out one of the L's in hello. Stop and make sure that what you've typed is right. Common misspellings direct users to their site instead of the one the person is really trying to access. Google it. If you hear of a site and someone says, yeah, go to that site, it's a good idea. First, Google it, okay? Google lists sites, their search results in order of popularity. So the ones that are used most often are going to appear first. Usually the ones that are used most often are legitimate. If you search a website in Google and you don't see it within the first page or two, think about not going to that site because it might not be trustworthy. Don't click hyperlinks. If somebody sends you an email, great, you can get this and that and that. Just click the link, okay? And if you click the link, it's going to take you immediately to that page. But you don't want to click the hyperlink. What you want to do is type that URL address in yourself in another tab. So open another tab and then type the URL address into the address bar. Because even if it was sent by someone trustworthy, the link itself might be unsafe. So if your mom says, oh, go here, it looks great, just don't click the hyperlink because she may have been duped or hacked. If you type it in yourself in another tab, you're more likely to get to a safe and secure site. We're back to our gut. Listen to your gut. Does an offer seem too good to be true? A car for $50? Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, it's probably not true. Does the website look strange? Are there a lot of misspellings? Does it look unprofessional? Are they asking you for personal information? Enter your address or your social security number to enter. No, red flag. Personal information is personal. Finally, if your intuition is telling you that it might not be safe, believe it. Remember, we have a gut for a reason. So listen to your body. Please tell this with even students, right? Give them a marker and say, go ahead and swallow it, it's safe. Now, you want to stop them before they do it because they might say, my instinct is not to do this. Trust that instinct. Chances are they can't even swallow a marker. So that's a good way to test it as opposed to a paperclip. Okay, I found a couple of URLs that are really good, especially for people with IDD, but just really for internet safety on the whole. Common Sense Media makes a pornography block. Whatever your philosophy about pornography really doesn't matter. If they're minors, chances are it's just not healthy to look at. It doesn't set people up for healthy sexuality. So you can either right now scan this barcode and it'll take you immediately to the website, Or you can, take a picture of this if you want with your smartphone and then type it in. Don't click a hyperlink, type it in, and it'll take you to the website. There's the Google Transparency Report. You can see it will tell you if it is a trustworthy or maybe not so trustworthy site. So it's a really good resource if you don't know if a site should be trusted. And then there's this, Hello, It's Me. It's a great place for people, particularly people with disabilities, intellectual disabilities, to meet each other. So it is a safe site. It has been vetted. So go to hello-it's me without the apostrophe.com and you can instruct or you can direct your loved ones or your students there. Okay, very quickly, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my program and about another program that we have here at the ARC of New Jersey. They are excellent resources for all different kinds of needs and questions. The top is SVPP, Sexual Violence Prevention Project. That's the one that I run. We come at sexual violence prevention from three angles: policy, awareness, and education. So we're working on all fronts to keep people with IDD as safe as possible. I do this by, I created the home sex ed curriculum. I am halfway through. Hopefully by the time you watch this, I'll be done with the personal safety curriculum. There are peer-led school programs and collabs with educators and IDD supportive businesses, particularly throughout New Jersey where we're based. I've done lectures at colleges and universities, not just about internet safety, but about teaching your students with IDD about personal safety, which are, it's sort of the best of from sex ed without mentioning sex. So it's the things that are going to keep you safe, where maybe if you don't want your children or you're not allowed to teach your students about sexuality, you can teach them about 5 areas to keep them safe. That is public and private, boundaries, consent, good decision-making and communication. We go into that a lot, and internet safety. So that's what the personal safety curriculum is all about. I do a lecture about that. And then there's also one about sexual violence, IDD, and the criminal justice system. We also created this amazing card game that I think is going to be hopefully soon at every local chapter of the ARC in your county. There are 20 throughout New Jersey. And it's a card game about decision making. And it's actually really fun. We are currently finishing up the online version. So people can play it by themselves on their tablet or their laptop. And it's pretty fun and very colorful. And most important, it teaches good decision making. Finally, we have webinars up on the website, thearcsvpp.org. There's one that corresponds with each of the 10 lessons in the home sex ed curriculum. So you can pick and choose, you can supplement, whatever you want. Finally, CJAP, the Criminal Justice Advocacy Program. That is, we have here in, at the ARC of New Jersey, CJAP is the only program of its kind in the entire state. They're there for information, to be your liaison. They monitor quality of care. And most important, they provide alternatives, hopefully, or they advocate for alternatives to incarceration for people over the age of 18 who are facing criminal charges. So what do? They can help you apply for guardianship, for citizenship, for a public defender if your loved one who is over 18 and is facing criminal charges. If they need a public defender, CJAP can help you with that. They will manage your case from start to finish. They help with education. They work in training for criminal justice professionals on interacting with people with IDD. Most important, what CJAP does is they're personalized justice plans. So they will actually come to court with you and talk to your public defender and sometimes even the judge to try to create a plan that will help you stay away from incarceration. So basically, it will help divert people who are facing charges, help divert them from incarceration. That can mean mental health care, that can mean changing where they live. It depends on the plan. But they are an excellent resource, and I highly recommend boop, 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 that that you access them if ever anyone you know needs it. You can find them all at the arcnj.org. Here are my references from my presentation. There were probably more, but these are the ones that I got in there. And finally, my contact information. Please feel free to reach out with questions, comments, anything you need. I'm really good at getting back particularly to emails, so I vote for that. Here is my direct email, jharrison@arcnj.org. My phone number, I'm at the Arc of New Jersey, and you can find information either by going to arcnj.org or more specifically, thearcsvpp.org. Thank you so much for visiting, and stay safe. Take care.